Okay.
And I'm Kane.
And I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. We got a lot of good performances coming up, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
I'll see you later.
All right, so before we begin, I would like to invite a representative. Her name is Kelly Davis. She's from Mental Health America. Please give her a warm round of applause.
Hi everybody, my name is Kelly Davis. I am the Director of Peer Advocacy Supports and Services in Mental Health America. I just walked in and had no idea that I was about to start speaking, so sorry about that. I can tell you a little bit about MHA. We were founded in 1909 by a man named Clifford Beers who lived with what would now be called bipolar disorder and had really awful experiences with the mental health services and large hospitals at the time, and he made it his mission to say, you know, I can recover and I'm going to make the world a better place for other people like me. And that's kind of what we do at MHA. So we really focus on mental health from pregnancy to death. We focus on everybody in all the ways. So instead of me standing up here telling you guys what mental health is, what mental health conditions are, what we can do, I did want to try to make it a little interactive if people would be willing to also speak. So can anybody give me an idea of what people mean when they say mental health? Or I can pick someone. It's your philanthropy, right? Okay, go ahead.
The common ones that come to mind are like bipolar disorder, depression, things like that, anxiety.
So bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety. So I'm thinking broader. So mental health doesn't necessarily mean a mental health condition. But those are examples of mental health conditions. Could anybody try another? Go ahead.
Your self-confidence and your self-esteem.
Self-confidence and self-esteem are part of mental health. And anybody else? Yeah.
It could be pretty broad, like it goes as far as just to be like a mood,
Yeah. Yeah. So your mood or what you're feeling or what's going on. So mental health is generally, you know, your state of psychological and emotional well-being. And it varies for everyone all the time, whether you have a mental health condition or not. Everybody has mental health. So I work at MHA. I myself am a person with lived experience. I'm in recovery from PTSD, bipolar disorder, and eating disorders. So, you know, my life is spent trying to go into groups of people and talk about, you know, I live with these things, and it gets better when people recover. So one of the things that I really focus on is college mental health. I went to American University, and when I was in school, I had a lot of challenges, and the people around me didn't really know how to respond, and I didn't really know how to interact with the services or systems that were available to me. And once I started doing better, and the more I started talking to other people, I realized that not only was it a really big problem at my school, it was a really big problem everywhere. And the more I started sharing my story, the more I realized that it was everybody I knew, it was their story, or it was somebody that they knew's story. So one of the reasons we're here tonight is to talk about these issues because so many people are facing them. 1 in 4 people will have a mental health condition at any given time. So if you think about all the people you do know people who are dealing with these things. And 1 out of 2 people will have a mental health condition at some point in their life. So mental health broadly, we can do things to take care of our mental health, which is just how we're feeling and how we're doing at any given time. But there are, you know, when people aren't doing well or people are really struggling for longer periods of time, we do have mental health conditions that we want to talk about. And people, someone named a couple of them. One of the 2 most common things that college students report dealing with, and I'm sure many of you know from your friends and the media that there's this big crisis on campus, where students are finally asking for help and the schools aren't necessarily able to connect them to resources. And the two biggest things that college students are dealing with are depression and anxiety, are the biggest things that people are reporting happening to them. 65% of college students report that within the past year they have felt so overwhelmed that it was difficult to function and get through the day. So obviously it's affecting all of us to some degree, even if we don't have a mental health condition. But when we talk about things like depression, we want to make sure we're talking about the same things. So can anybody give me an idea of what depression is?
Feeling down for more than 3 weeks at a time, and like not having any options at a time. There's like a lack of like direction or like any appetite to do anything, interest in using this and stuff.
Okay. Okay, so feeling down for a few weeks at a time, losing interest, not having an appetite to do anything. Does anybody have any other ideas of what might be considered depression?
I think it's kind of like a mental state of sadness and like lack of motivation to do things, and that state kind of hinders you from doing what you can and are willing to do, especially your daily life. So that's how the way you describe depression versus just like being sad.
Yeah, exactly, because everybody does have bad days. But depression is different. It impacts their ability to function, although there's plenty of people who live with depression who you would have no idea are dealing with that on the inside. Let's try anxiety. Can somebody tell me what anxiety or an anxiety disorder might look like?
It's kind of just like being on edge all the time and just nervous and worried about everything.
Being on edge and nervous? Mm-hmm. And, everybody gets nervous sometimes, right? And what would be different about anxiety would be, it would be debilitating or overwhelming, and it would make it hard to do the things that you want to do. Does anybody have any other?
It's often irrational. It's not necessarily like rational fears.
Okay, so irrational or like,
Overwhelmingly worried about things that you shouldn't be worried about in the first place.
but like disproportionate to what's happening. So like, when you have these thought spirals where you're like, oh, I'm not going to get this done on time, I'm going to fail this class, I'm going to fail this semester, I'm going to drop out of school, I'm never going to get a job, oh my God, what is my family going to think of me? Nobody here seems to be able to relate to that, so it's fine. But it can be really debilitating, and we all experience it to some degree, but an anxiety disorder, again, would be something different. But depression and anxiety are really the biggest things that the college population are reporting when they're going to the counseling center and people are asking questions about, what are you dealing with? So do you all have an idea of the resources that are available to you at this school actually, let's back up. So does anybody here think that there are negative beliefs or ideas about people with mental health conditions? Does anybody here think other people have negative beliefs about... It's fine. No, I wasn't asking that. Does anybody here feel like, okay, it's cool for somebody else to get help, but it might not be cool for me to get help? Okay, so a lot of what the data shows is that people say, if somebody came to me for help, of course I would help them, I would do whatever I could, I would get them connected to resources, I would, sit with them if they wanted to talk, but the opposite is not reported. So a lot of people say, okay, it's okay for other people to get help, but I wouldn't feel comfortable asking for help, or I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about this thing that's happening to me. So what might be some of the things that you would say if your friend told you that they were struggling?
Well, I'd ask to talk about it. I'd ask if they want to talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What else do you all say if your friend says something's going on? I believe you. That's a really big one, especially for people, going through traumatic experiences. Saying "I believe whatever happened to you" is really important. Anybody else?
I was living along the lines of I was so happy you came to talk to me about this.
Yeah.
Making sure that it's not like in any way or form like I didn't want to hear that from anyone.
That's awesome. So making sure they know that it's okay to come to you. I'm actually glad you came to me. Did someone else want to? Okay. So, one of the issues when somebody comes to talk to you, I think that a lot of people experience is that when somebody tells you that they're struggling, you want to fix it, right? But when you are stressed out and you go to talk to your friends, when you're saying, "I need help, I need to talk to this idea," whatever you say, are you expecting them to solve whatever problem it is that you're talking about? No, right? So I think that's one of the things that people struggle with is when somebody tells you, "I'm really struggling. Oh my God, I need to fix this immediately." When really what you could say is what you have said before is, "I'm here to talk. I want to listen. I'm here to do whatever it is that you need to do." So whether that's you just want to talk or you want to cry or you just want me to sit here or you want me to help you make an appointment, whatever it is, I'm here to do that. I can't solve whatever's happening for you, but I can be here to support you. So when your friend asks you for something, that's one thing, but does anybody know any signs or what to look for? Because a lot of times when people are struggling, and I know when I was struggling, I wasn't going around telling people, "Hey, I'm not okay." And a lot of times when people are dealing with depression or anxiety or have something really traumatic happen in their lives, they don't go around and tell everybody. So what are some things that you might notice that might be different, that might indicate that something's happening? Yeah?
Unusual behavior, especially if it's going on for a few weeks.
Unusual behavior? Can you give me some examples?
Like changing personality, maybe they're not like as talkative or going out to events as often as they used to.
Okay.
Maybe they don't seem to enjoy the hobbies that they used to enjoy.
Yeah. They don't enjoy the things that they used to do. They're not doing the things that they usually do. Anybody else?
If they start talking more about negative topics, and that might be indicated.
If they start talking more about negative topics?
When they start to isolate themselves.
When they start to isolate themselves, that's a big one. Anybody else? Yeah.
Giving away things for free, a lot of things for free, or substance abuse.
Giving away things for free or abusing substances, or talking about death or talking about not wanting to be around anymore. What are some of the things that you feel like you can do as a friend or somebody in the same community when you notice these things are happening? Or what are some of the thoughts and feelings you have when you notice these things happening? So like if one of your friends who's really social all of a sudden is not coming out anymore.
Reach out to them and make sure they're feeling okay.
Reach out to them and make sure they're feeling okay. Does anybody else have any? Because a lot of times it's I'm fine. I don't want to talk about it, I'm fine.
I was going to say you can invite them to things even if they don't accept. Just make sure you're always inviting them.
Yeah, keep inviting them.
That way they feel like accepted.
Yeah. So even if they don't feel like they can make it, they will still know that somebody's thinking about them and somebody wants them to be somewhere.
I was just saying, I think the initial reaction is often like, "Oh, I hope he or she's okay," but it may be a lot more effective for taking extra steps to be like, "Okay, what's up? Like, how can we help you or not?"
Yeah. Yeah, like the initial reaction, what he said was, the initial reaction is, "Oh, I hope they're okay," but I might not do anything about it because you all do a lot of things and have a lot of stuff going on, and it can be easy to get caught up in all the other stuff that's happening. Does anybody have any other ideas? What about when your friend asks you for help? So this might be more specific to what resources you have in Maryland, and you might be able to help each other, more than I would know about your resources. So if your friend said, hey, I think I'm dealing with, I don't know, I'm not enjoying the things that I used to, and I'm having a hard time getting to class in the morning, and I'm not keeping up on my assignments, and I don't know what to do. What are some of the options that they might have?
There's a counseling center on campus that you can actually call. There's two. There's one where you can schedule an appointment and actually go in. There's one where you can just call and talk to somebody.
Okay.
So those are helpful resources if you don't personally feel comfortable offering maybe your personal page be good support. Professional help.
Okay.
Be the way to go.
Okay. What if, so there's counseling resources on campus, what if they're afraid? What if they're like, I don't want to do that, what would my family think? What would the people around me think? What might you do then?
I would definitely try to first explain to them that it doesn't really matter what other people think, but if that doesn't really work, then I would probably have to take it more, give it more time. And so I suggest it, because I definitely don't think it's a good idea to just only rely on yourself to so maybe wait a bit more and just maybe slowly ease into that.
Okay. So mention to them once, see what they do. If they don't do anything, maybe follow up a little bit later, but don't be forceful or come off too strong or feel like you have to take care of it yourself. That's what you're saying. Okay. Oh, I can tell. Was your hand up? No. Okay. Anybody else have any ideas? Yeah, offer to go with them. So one of the things that is really helpful for people, especially when they haven't used resources before, when they're afraid of what it's going to be like, is to just sit with them when they make the phone call, or to say, I'm willing to walk to the building with you, or I'm willing to, right? If they're not getting counseling services on campus, it's hard to navigate insurance. It's hard to figure out what to do with that. So saying, I'll sit with you while you look for a therapist, or I'll sit with you while you call your family and tell them you're not doing well. Does anyone have any other ideas about what you might do when your friend reaches out to you?
Depending on how comfortable they are with telling other people about how they're feeling, maybe referring them to a friend who's been through a similar situation and offer helpful advice.
Okay. Yeah. So connecting them with somebody who's been through similar stuff. So that's actually, I work in peer advocacy and peer support. So the major goal of the department that I work in at Mental Health America is people with lived experience themselves. So people who are in recovery from depression or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or eating disorders, who go out and use that lived experience to support other people. So I think that, the experience of dealing with all of these things can be so isolating and so confusing for people, that just knowing there's other people out there who you can talk to, who won't judge you and who understand, is really important too. So yeah, these were all really good examples of what to do. It sounds like you've done a lot of talking about these topics, and you all seem to really know, what to do and what to look for and what to notice. And I can, talk to you a little bit more about MHA and our philosophy as well. So, as I mentioned, we were founded in 1909 by a man named Clifford Beers, and our guiding philosophy is what we call before stage 4. So, with any other health condition, you're doing checkups. They're checking in when you go to, they check your blood pressure. They're checking if you have, for diabetes, all of these things. Mental health conditions are the only chronic health conditions where we wait until somebody is in a state of crisis to do something about it. So we wait until somebody's hospitalized or somebody's actively suicidal before we get them help. And the mission of our work is to really move the needle from focusing exclusively on crisis situations to recognizing signs earlier. So exactly what you're doing. So noticing, hey, my friend is acting different, or hey, they're not sleeping, or they're not coming out as much, and engaging people earlier on and connecting them with resources earlier on. And the other piece is this idea of recovery. So I mentioned, when I was in college, I really struggled, couldn't go to class, felt isolated myself from everybody, and the people around me didn't know what to do. And I knew where to go, but I still felt very different from everyone around me, and like nobody understood, and like I was the only person going through the things that I was going through. We really want to, get this message out there about this broader mental health thing, right? So like you can have a mental health condition and still live a full life and have well-being and do it, all the things, that make life worth living. So yeah, you guys really knew answers to all the questions. I don't know if any of you all had any specific questions about anything that you wanted to talk about, or questions about MHA, or questions about college mental health. Yeah?
Did you always know you wanted to get involved with joining an organization like this ever since the beginning, or was it kind of a change midway?
Like MHA? So, I speak, when I go out and speak, I speak a lot about my personal story. And I noticed probably around age 7 that something didn't feel right with me, and that my feelings felt bigger than the people around me. And that I couldn't relate, and I always felt like there was something different, and there was something wrong with me. And then, I got into drinking, and I got into an eating disorder, and just these patterns kept coming up, and I didn't have the words or the language to talk about what was happening, right? If you've never heard of depression and you can't get out of bed and you can't talk to anybody, it's really scary and confusing. But I knew that when I was dealing with all of it, that, I was like, I'm not good at math. Math isn't my thing, but there's some billions of people in the world, at least one other person feels like this, right? I'm not the only person. And if I can figure out how to navigate this, I can tell them. And it doesn't have to be a waste. So, that was my message. And I think one of the best things that you can do for your friends and for your friend group is that if you have experience with this stuff, you don't have to keep it to yourself. Because so many people feel like they're the only person doing it, and that people around them would judge them, or that they have to do it by themselves. And I think that when I first got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I was terrified. I was like, my life is over. This is a really serious mental illness. I'm gonna have to drop out of school. I'm gonna have to lose everything. And then I met people who had jobs and who graduated from college and who were like, yeah, it's tough, but like you can do it. And I think that, I can come in here and I can read you statistics and I can tell you what to say and I can, tell you the best things to do when your friends are suffering. But as somebody who was struggling, what do they say? You can't be it until you can see it. This opportunity to see the people around me not only deal with this stuff, but they're living full lives, and I wouldn't have even known. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, thank you all.
I want to thank Kelly for coming out today and sharing her experiences with us. I know she asked a lot of questions that got at least me thinking, and I'm hoping that all of us could take something away from her speak today. So for our first performance, we're going to have UMCP Katie Phi. So if you guys could come up.
reminds me of my electric. That's why I'm walking in your creek. Trying to get you. I'll tell you, you must be a football coach. The way you got me playing the field, so baby, give me that. Running my head through my phone. Can't take your hat, need a new plot. You got me way too mixed up. And I don't know why I'm even still here. Can't shake it off. I've been here for years on top of this. And I'm ready to be all I know. Why do I keep on my phone every time that you call? Why do I keep this? I'm in my feelings.
probably gun me down by the end of the song. Seem like the whole city go against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear ya, ya. Not a tape recorder saying that he did it, but ever since the day I was looking at him different, that was floating. Let's go. Duck, baby. What did the song say? She just gonna get up. Hey! I pick out the camera, get that cake. Other side, more bitches, I need some more. Another white bitch, she give me that bacon, but I'm not. Ride through the city, AC blaze. Bitch, wanna fuck me, wrong, do me bad. Cash in my pants, I got cash on my ass. Baby, dance, bitches, blaze. All my diamonds look like glaze. Morning, got a disappointment. I got some of all of this shit like a minute. Niggas play, I'ma send them the meeting, make a damn call for forgive it, baby. Chopper, end up flipping it. Yeah, you better start tripping it.
We're gonna first raffle off the $15 Starbucks gift card. Alice, pick a number. She can read it.
4896009.
All right, Tiffany, let's say your prize. Congratulations. Let's have a representative from AKG5 come up to pick another prize. Which one? AKG5, anyone? Ashley? Alright, so this next prize is going to be the $10,000 value lottery tickets. Hey! Alright, hold on. So, mix it up for us. Mix it up for us. Alright, I'm just going to read it off. Ready?
Yeah.
4895910.
Going once?
4895910.
Going once? Going twice? Alright, next one. Pick another one. Let's get want to do like an FDS bro? Or no, are there any Kappas here? Okay, the left. Alright, let's do UMBCK5 or GW Sigma, either one. Want to come up? Pick one, pick a prize. Alright, I'm just gonna do it. Alright. So this is for $25 Amazon gift card.
4896021.
You got it!
4896021.
Alright, congratulations to all that won. So next up, we're gonna, judges, have you finished deciding who won? Alright, so let's have one representative from the judges come up. The winner of this competition will receive a $100 Visa gift card. Drum roll, please.
I want to thank my mom. I want to thank my friends for supporting me when I also was like having trouble with issues. So that speech was pretty relevant. And thanks for holding this event and having me.
Alright, thank you to everyone who came out, all the off-campus orgs, everyone who came out. Hope you guys enjoy the food and the performances, and we'll see you next year.